Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And we got a friend of the show, a friend of mine, and an amazing blues player. One of my favorite blues players is with us today. Sean Chambers is here. Sean lives in Southwest Florida, not real far from me. He started his career over on the East Coast of Florida originally, released his first album in 1998. He's become a well-known national and now, after this year, international blues artist. He was actually Hubert Sumlin's music director, and he played with Hubert for 5 years in the early 2000s. I actually interviewed Sean about 6 months ago, and if you go to everyonelovesguitar.com and enter Sean Chambers, S-E-A-N, in the search box at the top, or if you go to iTunes and search for his name under podcast, you'll see the interview. We had a great conversation, had a really good time, got to know each other a bit. I wanted to have Sean back on today because he just released his 7th album. It's called Welcome to My Blues. He released it in October 2018, and I got to tell you, it's just a freaking awesome record. I was in the gym this morning jamming to it, and I was just telling him before the call, I think it's his best album yet. Not that anything else that he's done isn't great, but I really love it. The record actually hit number 9 on the Billboard Blues Album charts. I'm going to talk about it today. Sean, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's my honor. Thanks for having me back, Craig.
Anytime, dude. Man, I hope you're really proud of this record. Like I said, the album's great. You got 11, which first of all, just congratulations for putting the effort into making an album nowadays, man. It's a lot of work. Very few people are releasing albums or releasing EPs and stuff like that. You've got 11 solid songs, 2 covers, 9 originals. And I was just curious how you felt about the record in general.
I feel like it's definitely my most diverse as far as the songs go. It's definitely not your average, your typical 1-4-5 blues songs. There's a lot of different kind of all the songs are a little bit different. The song arrangements are different. The album kind of has a flow to it that I like. So I would probably agree with you that it's my best effort, to date.
And now this is your second record that you made with Ben Elliott at American Showplace Music up in Jersey. Was there any difference between the recording of this record and your last album that you just put out last year, in 2017, Trouble and Whiskey? Well,
on this album, when we did Trouble and Whiskey, we were very rehearsed. And, I did that with my own band, and we rehearsed for about a month and a half, had all the songs, exactly how we wanted them. My drummer at the time, kind of a little bit played it safe. Didn't want to do anything too crazy, just straight, solid beats, which is kind of what I wanted as well. On this new album, Welcome to My Blues, Ben Elliott, the producer, he wanted to kind of not have me in my comfort zone. He wanted me to kind of take me out of my comfort zone a bit. So he suggested that we use some studio guys that he knows that would kind of push me a little bit and kind of maybe push me to different places that I may not go if I'm in my comfort zone, So we used, I was doing a lot of writing with John Ginty, who's a fabulous B3 player, one of my favorites. And he's got a drummer named Mo Watson. So in the writing process, when we were emailing each other songs and ideas and arrangements, he would pass them along to his drummer, Mo. And so they started learning the tunes. So what I did is I used my bass player, Todd Cook. And then we used Mo Watson on drums and John Ginty, who they actually live up in Jersey near the studio, and they do a lot of session work there. So, and really the opposite for Mo, what I said about my drummer on Trouble and Whiskey, how we kind of played it safe and just did straight, kind of just solid, good time, rhythm and beats, stuff, or good timing and stuff like that. Mo was really kind of like really pushing it, man. He's a hell of a drummer, and he's just kind of pushing me a little bit, which was Ben Elliott's whole goal for this album, you know. So I think that's what it comes across when you hear it.
It definitely comes across. You could hear the drums, you know, driving everything, and what a great like rock and roll named Mo Watson. Very cool.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, right. What a great drummer too. Yeah.
You just came back from your first tour of Europe. How was it over there?
Man, I got to tell you, Craig, it was amazing. I had a feeling it was going to be good, but I didn't know it was going to be so good. I mean, most of the shows were sold out.
That's great.
We sold out of most of our merchandise. I mean, we did 9 shows in 7 different countries. It was pretty fast paced, but it was really fabulous, man. The welcome and that we got from everybody was just amazing. It was really, really blew my mind. And we're already planning some shows there again for May next year.
That's great, man. I'm happy for it. It was cool because I'd see you and your wife would post pictures on Facebook, and
yeah,
you know, like on the surface, it looks like, wow, this is real glamorous. But I was like, holy shit, man, this guy is like in a different place every day. I know it's like, it's a lot of work, man. And
it's fast moving.
Yeah.
It really is. We didn't get to see much. You know, I tell people about it. They're like, oh, did you go see this or did you go see that? It's like, no. We saw a lot of highway, a lot of countryside, a lot of driving, you know.
Yeah. What did you have fans there, or are they just fans of like American blues and new blues acts that they haven't seen, or what was the draw?
I think both. We had people there that knew us and knew our music, and we had people there that you know, that just loved the blues and wanted to come out and see an American band, you know. I would say probably half and half.
That's fantastic, man. Well, that's great. Now you got a whole new audience over there, and I know that's only going to grow.
I think so
man.
too, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
So I know last year in general, or this year, I guess, closing, which is December 29th, actually, as we're recording this, was a really good year for you. Did you do anything different to make it so much more productive?
Well, you know, I think just putting out an album every year and a half or so is really important, and it kind of builds the momentum. So I've put a few albums out in the last 4 or 5 years. So I think the momentum's kind of been building a bit.
Definitely.
We've been continuing to tour through the U.S. and Canada, so we've been kind of keeping that momentum going. And then I landed a deal with an agency over in Europe, and so they're bringing us overseas now, like we were just talking about. So that definitely adds to the spectrum of what we're doing. So it was a pretty busy year, you know, plus we had an album came out that hit number 9 on Billboard. So all that stuff I think kind of plays into it.
That's great, man. How did you, I mean, not in the details, but how did you hook up with someone in Europe?
Well, I have a friend over there named Theo, and him and his wife, Mia, and his partners, they do a show in the Netherlands called Keeping the Blues Alive.
Oh, I know that show. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's a big festival. It's a blues series they do for like 3 months out of the year over there. And for the last 3 years, Theo's been trying to get me to go over there. He's been saying, come on, man, we want to get you over here. We want to get you over here. So this year, I think it was around February or March, he was kicking me in the butt again and going, come on, you need to get some shows. See, it's been hard to get over there unless you can get enough shows to really, you know.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Right. So I finally said, you know what, I'm going to really reach out to some agents and really just try to see what I can do. I'd reached out to a couple agents over the last couple years with no luck. And it's almost impossible to book stuff on your own over there because, first of all, not many people speak English, you know, so it's a whole different ballgame.
Sure.
So I called and emailed several agents, and one agent named Ray emailed me back and said, yeah, I may have a spot on my roster, and me and my partner saw your videos and we like what you do. A lot of it is timing, you know, with these agents. A lot of times you'll talk to an agent and they'll say, man, I really dig your stuff, but my roster is like over full and we're going to have to drop a couple acts. And so a lot of it's timing. You got to find somebody that digs what you're doing and they have a spot for you on the roster. So I happened to catch Ray at a good time where they were looking for a new act, and he liked my stuff, and we came to an agreement, and now we're working together. So
that's awesome.
I kind of thank Theo for pushing me, you know, to get over to Europe because if not, I probably wouldn't be doing it.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad everything worked out. You're like I said, I really love your playing. I've followed you a long time through Florida, and you deserve all the success and more, man. So
thank you, Craig, man. I appreciate that. Really
good. And I was gonna ask you. My next question was you released 7 albums since '98, but 4 of them have come out in the last 7 years, as you said, every year and a half, which is that's a lot of work, man. It really is. Do you enjoy recording now more than the early days, or are you more comfortable, or are you just more cognizant of, if I want my career to move along, this is what I've got. This is the formula, the template, and I've got to stick to it.
That's a really great question. Actually, a little bit of all of that. I mean, every time I do an album, I'm more comfortable and I learn something in the studio that I apply to the next album, or the recording process at least. Back when I was doing my first 2 or 3 albums, I was really kind of felt awkward in the studio. It's a real sterile environment. When you're playing live, you have the energy from the crowd you're working off of, and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
when you're in the studio, it's just the walls and you and the headphones, So, I think I'm definitely getting a lot more comfortable in the studio. And as I get more comfortable in the studio, I'm enjoying, recording more. But at the same time, I also realize that you have to put out records every year and a half, maybe every 2 years at the most, to really keep the interest and keep the momentum going. So when I first started my career, it was like 3 or 4 years between albums. And so now that things are, I'm trying to take things to another level, it's really important that I kind of keep producing albums every year and a half or so. So, yeah, I think that that's basically sums it up.
That's very cool. I think what you said is really interesting. It opened my eyes. You said in the studio, it's just the walls and headphones. That really is, that's another dimension, because now you have to be the sole judge of, did this lick sound right? Do I need to? Yeah, I never thought about that, man. That's a lot of, and it makes sense that you're not going to be as confident in that for 2, 3, 4 records,
Yeah, you're right. And it's real easy to pick yourself apart in the studio and say, I can do that better. But that's when you really that's when you really put your trust in your producer, Yeah. And I've never had such a good producer as I have with Ben Elliott. And I know he'll have me do 3 or 4 takes or 3 or 4, guitar takes. Most of Welcome to My Blues, the tracks were done on the first or second take with the band. And then I may go back in there and redo a guitar solo or 2, but he'll tell me, okay, we got it. Between these 2 or 3 solos you did, we can find the one that works. And I kind of just put my trust in him, because if it was up to me, I'd be in there forever trying to figure out
Well, the record's great. So let me ask you a question specifically about the record. And maybe, I think you probably answered it, but my question was, the record seems so much more intense in some ways. The slow blues feel deeper and more passionate. The fast tracks, it's like the gun goes off and the fucking horses are, it's boom. There's no wind up. It's boom. It's on right away. And the other thing that most different to me, at least, your voice is like ferocious on this whole record.
Thanks.
It's like,
thanks.
I don't know you very well, but what's interesting is, like, my perception of you is that you're a soft-spoken guy. You're incredibly polite, very, very nice guy, very sweet person to talk to, but you seem like you're soft-spoken. I don't know. I could probably ask your wife. Maybe she said, no, you're a loudmouth. But on that record, dude, it was like, boom, man, here it is, man, like it or not. And I was really blown away.
Well, I think it's kind of like we were talking about. I'm kind of finding myself in the studio now. Oh, so I'm kind of learning how to kind of find my voice and find, my guitar sound in the studio. And when Ben has a way of making me real comfortable in the studio, he's a guitar guy. And I think we talked about this on the last time when you and I talked. So he has a way of just, making us confident in the studio and bringing the best out of us. And I think that's really important in a producer's, to have a guy that kind of knows what you're shooting for and can kind of guide you in the right direction. And, he would tell me that vocal take is good, but let's do another vocal take. I think you can do a little better. So we would do 1 or 2 vocal takes and then go to the next one. And, I think I'm just kind of finding my voice a little bit. So I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, it was great. Are you soft-spoken?
I am. Yeah, I am.
That's what I thought. I want to point something out, what you said. So this is your 7th record, and the build, you're just finding yourself in the studio through getting some help. And I just want to point that out, because I think for some reason people seem to think what you guys do is easy. It's not. It's incredibly difficult. And, the fact that you're always learning and always growing is just like, props to you, man. And it shows on the record again.
Man, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely not an easy business, and it's also very competitive. As far as just like, if you don't do an album for say 3 or 4 years, and then just people forget about you.
Yeah.
Or if you don't tour 1 year, people forget about you. So you got to keep putting out albums. You got to keep recording. You got to keep touring. So that's what I mean by competitive. And plus, there's so many great acts out there as well. I mean, you just got to kind of keep in the forefront. So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
And sometimes, like I've seen in business, just the fact that you're doing it and that other people don't have the tenacity or the stamina to keep doing it allows you to keep moving up. You know what I'm saying? Like, 'cause it's hard.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, no, that's true. I think there's a lot of acts that kind of come and go. So there's something to be said about staying power. I mean, the more you do it and the more you're on the scene, kind of the more established I think you get,
Hell yeah, man. 20 years, 7 records. Absolutely. You certainly are.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some specific songs on the record. You have, you covered Luther Allison's song, Cherry Red Wine. You did a great job. I was curious what prompted you to cover that, because that song's about a guy, basically his wife drinks too much, and I'm pretty comfortable that is not your situation at all.
Yeah, that song is that's one of my favorite Luther Allison songs. And I had a couple other slow blues tunes for the album, but I wasn't totally sold on them. And so, Ben, one day we were in the studio and Ben said, "Okay, we need a slow blues tune." And I was like, "You know what? Maybe because we had enough originals, and I always have room for a few cover songs. I like to redo some of my favorite artists. I like to kind of keep them out there if I can, and redo some of their stuff as like a hats off, tip of the hat kind of thing, So I said, you know what, let's try. It was just a kind of a spur of the moment thing let's try Cherry Red Wine by Luther Allison, and we ran the song, and it felt really good in the studio. We had never played it together. We didn't plan on doing it. And it worked great and felt great in the studio, and we recorded it, and it worked.
That's great. It sounds great. What guitar, what amp are you playing on that song?
Cherry Red Wine, I was using my Strat, and we had several different amps running. As far as amplifiers, I was using like a Lewis Electric amp.
I never heard of that. Lewis, Lewis? Or is it LOU?
I think it's LOUIS, I believe.
Interesting. I have to check that out.
And a Mahalo amps actually too. I was running both of those in a stereo in series kind of together. We were also running a Fender and a Marshall for different songs, but on that I was using the Mahalo, the Lewis Electric, and my Fender Strat for that song.
Very cool. And you mentioned Slow Blues, a great song in there called Keep Moving On. It's like 6 minutes. It's killer slow blues song. And what I really liked about it, and this is like the things that I thought were different. There's like a couple of climaxes in that solo there, and you really, had total command of what was going on. And if as a listener, as because you listen to music, when it's almost like you go to the doctor and you feel like you're in good hands. So like I felt like, oh, this guy's like, I'm in good hands here, man. He's cool. Taking me on a ride here, and it was a couple of climaxes. Yeah, I really like that.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's a huge compliment, especially coming from you, somebody that knows music. But that's one of the slow blues tunes I had. It felt good in the studio. I was actually playing a Gibson Les Paul on that one.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, the band really pushed me on that. That was kind of what I was touching on earlier about Ben Elliott wanting to, have some guys that were pushing me a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows on that song, I think, kind of comes out.
And then at the end, it's like a few bars of like you and John Ginty on the B3, like interplay with these. Man, that sounded great. It really did. It was a great way to close that song out, man.
Hey, thanks. John Ginty's a monster. I think he's one of the best out there in the business on the Hammond B3, and he's an excellent songwriter. So it was really a pleasure to have him on the album with me.
And speaking of songwriting, I know this is my favorite song on the record, Riviera Blue. You wrote that, or you co-wrote that with John. I mean, I listened to that in the gym today like 5 times while I was working out. It's a very moving guitar. Anybody listening to this, and I told Sean before we started the interview, I put that song on my automatic slow downer because that's the next song I want to learn. It's a phenomenal track. It's very moving. No, thank you, man. It's a beautiful blues in C minor, but you're playing a lot. Your playing is on fire, but you have like some jazzy stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time you've done that, or I recall the first time.
It's weird because that's another one that we didn't plan or practice at all. That just kind of happened in the studio. It was about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and we had a long day in the studio. It was one of the last days in the studio, and we wanted to get 11 tunes on the album. We only had about 10, And then the producer said, okay, I need an instrumental song, because we had planned on doing an instrumental, but we hadn't come up with one yet. And so he said, what's the instrumental song you have? And, something that's, going to be a little bit different. And so me and John got some coffee going, because it was a little bit late at night. And we sat in there and just kind of jammed a little bit. And we were just kind of really mellow. It's been a long day. We were tired after like 14-hour days in the studio all week. And we came up with that song, we came up with the basic format for that song. And
that was written on the fly?
That was written on the fly, yeah.
Wow, what a beautiful that lick. And how you do it with double stops. It's like really cool.
Another tip of the hat to John Ginty. I got to give him credit, because the whole the phrasing, like the brown out down, that thing is kind of the hook. It's kind of the hook line.
Yeah.
Of the song. And before, when John and I were writing that song, that wasn't in there. It was just kind of like a jazzy kind of jam. And he said, okay, this is perfect, but you need to come up with like a signature hook line, a signature thing that kind of repeats through the song that you can kind of come back to and end with and start with. And so that's when I sat there for about 3 or 4 minutes and tried to come up with something. And then I did that. I did about 15 or 20 licks. And when I did that one, John Ginty goes, that's it. That's the thing. That's it right there. So we just kind of incorporated that into the thing, and we recorded it. And that was all like on the first take. Once we got the song put together, they hit record and we did it on the first take.
Wow. I'm like, I cannot believe that. That's amazing. Yeah. And I can't believe you came up with 15 different licks in 3 to 4 minutes at 11:30 at night. That's fucking good for you.
I didn't count them, but you know what I mean? It's like we were just kind of, I was trying to find something signature that fit into what we were doing. Yeah. I was kind of racking my brain for a few minutes. And then finally, when I did that one thing, John said, that's the ticket right there. That's it. So
that's beautiful.
I got to give him a lot of credit, man. That's why I was co-writing with him, because he's really brilliant like that,
Yeah, man. Well, it works. You guys are a great team. And it sounds like you're playing your Strat on that one.
Actually, on that one, I was playing a Gibson Les Paul, just kind of real mellow, no distortion, with a little Fender Blues DeVille amp. And it was just, we actually had the little Fender Blues. John was sitting at the piano, and we just set up the little Fender DeVille right near the piano. On the rest of the record, all the amps were like in the back room, mic'd, kind of isolated. For this one, we just did a real low key thing where it was kind of live in the live room, recorded live, and and it was just kind of mellow. Kind of came through in the recording, I think.
All right, so I got to ask you some geeky questions. I mean, what pickup position were you playing in on there? And then, like, to me anyway, and I'm probably wrong, but it sounded like the entire song was in one pickup position, but that last line, something was different.
If I remember right, I used the middle position, the middle pickup of the Gibson Les Paul. It has 3, the up, middle, and down. Mm-hmm. And then for the end there, I probably switched to the down, to the low, to the high position, so it's a little more trebly and high endy maybe.
Okay.
I don't really remember, to be honest with you, because it was kind of just a spur of the moment, instinctual kind of thing, I guess, if you want to say. But I believe for the majority of that song, I used a middle pickup, a little bit kind of not too thin, but not too fat, kind of in the middle.
That's great. Anybody listen to this, please check out check out the whole album, Welcome to My Blues, but definitely guitar players, go listen to Riviera Blue. It's the last song on the record. It is just a beautiful song, man.
Thanks, man.
No, thank you, man, for making that and for doing all the hard work you're doing.
Yes, sir.
The blues is definitely not dead. Sean Chambers, keeping it alive. I want to tell people where they can get your record and when you'll be touring to support it. I know we talked about it. Why don't you just tell everybody?
Well, the album's available at the usual places online. You can buy it at Amazon or iTunes, any place like that. You can order it off the website, off our storefront.
Order it if you're going to buy it. Sorry, I apologize to cut you off, but
good.
But support Sean. Go to if you're going to buy the record, go to SeanChambers.com. Do it. You guys are all players. You know the deal, man. Don't give Amazon a cut that Sean keep 100%. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
Oh, cool. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you, man. And then as far as, streaming, like we were talking about earlier, Spotify, it's available on most of the streaming, networks and Apple Music and stuff like that.
Awesome. And
you're
going to Europe in May. I know you got festivals lined up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll be going back in May. I think we've got, the agent said we've got 5 dates confirmed. One's a festival in Germany. Not sure where yet. Where in Germany. And then we've got 5 or 6 other dates he's working on. So we'll probably have 10 or 11 dates in May when we go back.
That's awesome, man. So all my listeners in Europe, please go support Sean and at the festivals. You know, it's funny. This would be a trip. I might be in Europe because my wife's from England, right? So I was saying,
really?
Yeah. So she goes over, but she lives in a small town, and so I don't usually go because it's like coming to America and coming to Lutz and hanging out where I live, right? It's probably not bad, but not what you want to do.
Nothing for you there, right?
Yeah, right. So I don't usually go, but now that I met all these dudes in England and Ireland, I was saying, hey, you can hang out I'll go. But I'm just thinking, how funny would it be? So we're maybe talking about May. If I'm coming over the time you're playing, I'm going to shoot over to Belgium or whatever, man, and check you out, man. That would be awesome
to see you over there, man. That would be great.
Very cool. Yeah,
absolutely.
I will definitely keep that in mind. Sean, anything else that you want to say or anything else I could do to support you besides telling everybody Sean's a great player? He's an incredibly nice person. I would encourage you to support all his music. Please go listen to Welcome to My Blues. Anything else?
I just want to thank you for doing what you do and putting the music out there on the forefront. You do a great job, man. And it's really an honor to be on your show and the fact that you're just so into what we're doing. I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you, man. The pleasure's all mine. Everybody, go support Sean Chambers. Check out his music at Sean, SEAN. Go to SeanChambers.com. Go listen to Welcome to My Blues. He's on Facebook. And are you on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm not extremely active on it, but I am on there, yeah.
Your wife's like your social media manager, right?
Yeah, she does a lot of my social media stuff. Yeah.
She does a good job, man. It's a lot of work doing all that. I'm always impressed because she's always pumping it out there. She does a good job combining personal and business and music and stuff. It's a lot of work. I know that.
She does good at it, man. And she's also starting to build her own little fan club too. So
cool, man. Well, go support Sean. Check him out on social media. And dude, thank you so much for coming on this show. And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Everybody, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Sean Chambers for spending time with us. Please go support Sean's music and check out Welcome to My Blues and all the other good albums he's made. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.